business show. Today we're going to be talking about why you need a day rate as a coach. Now, it might not be something that you've ever considered, perhaps this has come up for you before, but today we're going to be talking a bit about why day rates are a good idea when you are a coach, what you might want to consider when it comes to like pricing that day rate, and the kind of things that you might want to use that day rate for. Now, this was actually a question that came up in my client and customer only Facebook group, and I just thought it would be a good one to talk about on the business show because it can actually be really helpful to know what this is in your business, even if it's something that you don't use a lot of the time. So day rate is basically a fee that you work out that you charge in exchange for, and this is very, very rough, a day of your time. So that day might be 7 hours or 8 hours, and it might include lots of different things, which we'll look at in a sec. But it can just be really useful to have this because there's certain opportunities that might come up as a coach where having a day rate is really helpful to know and to have that already prepared so that you're not kind of like, oh, what should I charge? And panicking and then charging something really low. So the things that you might want to charge a day rate for are things like workshops and corporate stuff. So when I was a health coach, I did quite a few different corporate workshop things where I would go into a company, into their offices, and I would do some kind of talk about wellness and well-being, lots of different kind of focuses and different things. And it might be a half day, it might be a full day, there might be like prep involved. And again, we'll touch on this in a sec when it comes to like how we're going to price this out. But it was really good to have a day rate so I knew what I wanted to charge for these kind of things. And it might be that you already know that as a coach you want to be doing that kind of work. Or it might be that someone is actually coming to you and saying, can you come and do this for us? And I think it's just really useful to have a sense of that. I mean, I even have a day rate now as a business mentor because I still sometimes get people come to me and say, Laura, can you come and deliver some training around Pinterest and things like that? So it's really useful just to have that day rate for me kind of in the back of my head when I come to giving people a quote for what I will charge to, to do some training with them. So that's the first thing, is doing these kind of workshops, trainings, anything like that. And like I say, often this involves going into a corporate environment like an office or something like that. It might also be a community organisation. I've got a lot of background in community organisations. That's where I started off my work and life, was around community work, and I'm a fully qualified youth and community worker, and I've done lots of work with charities. So there can be opportunities to work with them. And I have to admit, I think I probably wouldn't charge my full day rate for those organisations, just knowing that they are charitable. But that's really a personal choice. And even as I say that, I can think of loads of different thoughts coming up around my mindset around that. But for me personally, having worked in those organisations, I'd feel really happy to perhaps discount that a little bit and not charge quite as much. So that's the workshop, like doing a corporate event kind of style thing that you might want to think about when it comes to day rates. The second thing is a speaking gig. So perhaps you might get asked to speak at an event or speak at some kind of big conference. Like there's all sorts of different things that you might get asked to go and speak at, which is awesome. And just to say as well, all of these can be really good for our businesses, besides obviously getting paid for what it is that we do, because I honestly believe that any time that we get to be with people, whether that's virtually or in person, preferably in person, I think is really powerful. But whenever we get to be with people and they get to connect with us and listen to us speak, I think that's a really great opportunity for us as coaches, because when people get to know you like that, they're more likely to become one-to-one clients and things as well. Or there's the word of mouth aspect too. So all of these can be really good aside from the actual day rate. But yes, the speaking, that can be a really good one as well. And again, having a day rate can really help you like price that and quote for it. It might be that some speaking events you're happy to do for free because of the other benefits that come from that, like I've just described. But there's nothing wrong with charging for your time. I think it's really important that we do that. We can't pay our mortgages or rent with fresh air and with like exposure and good wishes. So I think it's a good thing to have this day rate for that. And then another thing that you might want to consider using a day rate for is having some kind of VIP day. So this isn't something that I have actually done in my business. I know some coaches do VIP days, and that's a big part of what it is that they deliver, and it's a big offer that they have, and it's not something that I've personally explored. But having an idea of what your day rate is can be helpful for informing what you might charge for some kind of VIP day as well. So these things can be just really useful to think about. And when it comes to deciding what your day rate actually is, like how much you're going to charge, I think there's a few things to consider in the mix with this. So I think the first thing is really thinking about what are you going to include in that day rate. So when I used to charge mine, I would generally include travel. If I was travelling a long way and had to stay over, I would add extra onto that because it would really just leave me with nothing. You know, if I was travelling from the northeast to London on the train and having to stay over, and if my day rate at the time was like £500, I wouldn't be left with a lot of change out of that because of the travel element. So you kind of want to think about what's included in that and what kind of element of travel might be included. You might also want to think, do you want to include your prep in with that rate, or would you charge extra for that? So again, I think what I generally did was my day rate, I think, was £750 for a full day, which was like 7 to 8 hours. And then it was £450 for a half day. I think that's how I worked it out. And that kind of included some prep and some travel. I think what I generally, if it was a day and back to London, I would include that in the day rate. If it was staying over, then that would have to be extra. If just like the logistics of the timing and stuff like didn't make it work, then I would charge extra for that. So it's just working out where you might be. But like I say, I mean, I charged £750. That was a few years ago. Another thing that you want to consider is obviously you're going to be taxed on this as well. So you need to think about a proportion of this isn't going to end up back in your pocket or in your business. It's going to go in tax as well. So you need to work all these things out because ultimately it has to be worth your while. And I think if you're not charging enough for it to be worth your while, then there's not much point in doing it, really, is there? So we want to work out, like, we just want to make sure that we've got these things incorporated into how we're figuring out this number, basically. And then once you've got that, it can be, again, you can just have that number, write it down somewhere, and then you know that you've got it if this opportunity arises and you've kind of got a sense of what it's going to be. And the reason why I think that's helpful is that so that if someone asks you to do something like this, you're not like, oh, spending like a couple of days like freaking out about what should I charge, what is it going to be. You've actually already thought about this, and I think that can be really helpful. So having it for that reason is really good. And then I think other things that you can do is, like I say, you can just have that written down somewhere or in the back of your head so that you know. Or you can actually put it together as a PDF, which is perhaps like or put it on a sales page on your website so that people can see. If you know that you want to do corporate and speaking things, you could have a page for that on your website and actually have it like jotted down, like this is my day rate, this is what it includes, so that people who might be interested in working with you can see that that's there. And actually, I think that looks really professional, that you've thought that through. I think that really will communicate that really well to anyone who is interested in working with you in that way. So that can be super useful as well. And just another thing while we're on the topic of doing these kind of things in a coaching business, so these kind of like in-person or virtual stuff that isn't one-to-one coaching, it can be sometimes helpful as well to have some kind of signature presentation or a signature workshop kind of already sussed out, because that can save you a bit of time as well, again, if you want to do these things. So an event that I spoke at was the Thrive Festival in Dublin. I think that was like March 2019, and I did a couple of workshops and I was there for like 2 days. My travel and accommodation, they paid for that, and I think, how much did I charge for that? I can't actually remember what I charged for that now. It wasn't the full day rate because obviously some of the travel and the accommodation was paid for, which was amazing, by the way, because I stayed in a beautiful hotel and it was really lush. Anyway, it was very, very nice. But one of the things that was really good is that I already had a signature kind of presentation or a signature workshop kind of there. So I spoke at that Dublin Wellbeing Festival on self-care, and I also did like a business one as well when I was doing kind of both. And it was really great, and it was such good fun, and I've had clients out of that, and it's just been wonderful, and it was really great to speak in front of people, and it was fab. So honestly, I think if you get the opportunity to do this stuff, even if, I felt a bit nervous, it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I feel comfortable speaking in front of a group of people, but it is fantastic. So honestly, if you ever get the opportunity to do it, just do it. It's awesome. But yeah, have your day rate, figure out what that might look like for you, figure out what number might feel good. There's no kind of right or wrong in terms of what this number might be for you. It could be whatever, figure out what the one that feels right for you, that makes it worth your while, decide what's included and what isn't, and then write it down somewhere. Even perhaps, like I say, create a page on your website that is specifically for this kind of thing. And then you might also, as I was saying, want to think about a signature presentation or workshop that you can already have there in your head, that they're connected to your niche, or you can have some headline topics and things like that. All of that can be really helpful too. So I hope that's given you some things to think about when it comes to day rates, why you might want to have one in your coaching business. Just something up your sleeve in case these opportunities come about, so that you can respond to them really quickly, and why you might want to have a page on your website, so that people can see that they can actually work with you in that way. And as I'm saying this, I'm realising, do I have that on my website? Perhaps I need a new page. So lots of stuff to think about. But as always, guys, I would love to know if this has been helpful. Are you going to decide and create a day rate for your coaching business as a result of listening to this? Please let me know. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm wholeheartedly Laura, and pop me a DM and let me know. I would be really interested to know if you're going to do this. If you're watching this on my blog or on YouTube, leave me a comment below and let me know if you're going to action this as well. But yes, I'd love to know what your thoughts are around this, and if you're going to create your own day rate and have a new page on your website, or think about what your signature workshops might be. So yes, as always, thank you so much for listening. I really hope that's been helpful, and I will see you next time.